How have you been, Ahmad?
I've been pretty good, man. Just work. Summer, my birthday's coming up.
Your
Excited.
birthday's coming up?
Yeah, man, like 2 weeks. That's gonna be fun.
What day? What day exactly?
It's gonna be August 19th. I'm thinking of going to Palm Springs.
Nice, nice. Deontay's birthday was like right when we were recording, or right when we posted the podcast, the
Oh,
first one actually. So it's
awesome.
coincidence.
Did you guys do something or nah?
No, I don't like him that much. So,
I feel that.
all right. Well, welcome to the Scoops podcast, guys. Episode 2. I'm here with Ahmad.
How's it going, guys?
Man, it's good to be back. It's good to do this again. I love talking basketball. I love talking basketball with you guys. We could do it for hours, and we really do, honestly, off the record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a passion, dude.
It really is. All right, you ready to jump right into it?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start with some more Olympic basketball talk. Team USA beat Puerto Rico on Saturday by a pretty wide margin in South Sudan before that.
Mhm.
These were the last of the games leading up to what is going to be the quarterfinals, which is tomorrow at 12:30 against Brazil. So tomorrow is when like, all right, it's go time. We really got to win these games. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, I mean, I think Team USA is the favorite against Brazil.
You
Um,
have
so so we'll see about that. But it's promising to see them kind of have their way with the teams that they're supposed to have their way with, like Puerto Rico, and then the outing they had against Sudan. Kevin Durant has looked really good, even though he's been coming off of injury. Anthony Edwards had 26 points in the game against Puerto Rico. He looked good. Just a really deep team, and the older guys have been really showing out.
Yeah, man. KD, I don't think I've ever seen a player bounce back from injury after injury the way he has. And I think it just has to do a lot with his game style. Like he just
He's
gets
so
to,
smooth.
yeah, he gets to his spot and he pulls up and no one
Yeah.
can do something about it.
6'11" with the handle, even without the handle, he can just shoot over you. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, he could play Dirk style or he could play like a T-Mac style where he dances with you.
As
And
versatile a scorer as we have ever seen in basketball.
man, he's my second favorite player. I love KD.
Who's won?
Kobe, always.
Okay. I just had to make sure. Okay. You're from Detroit, so you might pull like
Yeah.
a Isaiah Thomas or something at me. I don't know.
Tayshaun Prince. Tayshaun Prince is up there.
Tayshaun Prince, man, he just disappeared. No mention of Tayshaun anymore.
Man,
Tayshaun used to run dudes on both ends on the
yeah,
floor.
man. I love Tayshaun Prince. He was my
He,
favorite of that mid
yeah,
2000 Big Five.
yeah, he was. You remember Austin Day? This is so random. I just anytime I think of Tayshaun Prince, I think of Austin Day. He was drafted and everyone's like, "Oh, he's the next Tayshaun," and he was not the next Tayshaun at
Yeah, that
all.
actually sounds familiar.
He was drafted what, like the late 2010s? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. All right, getting off topic.
Yeah.
Um, I was listening to First Take talk about this USA team compared to the 92 Dream Team. Obviously, 92 Dream Team, I think has the edge. They definitely have the size,
Mhm.
and they have a prime Mike and Charles Barkley on that team. That's really hard to beat. But they were talking about how this 2024 team has a depth unlike just about any other USA team that we've seen. Like the players that we're benching that aren't playing are top players in the league. They're Tyrese Halliburton, who was the best player on a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we benched for an entire game Jason Tatum, who
Uh,
just won a championship. We benched Embiid, who was hurt, obviously, but still, that's a top three big that just no ticks or very little, like minimum amount of playing. Like
mhm.
this team is incredibly deep, and anyone on this team can go off and have themselves a game in a way that yeah, every team that USA brings out there, they have the potential of doing that because USA is always just so loaded. But I don't think any team's really been as loaded as this team has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think we have like 10 or 11 deep. Even Derek White is a pretty solid player coming off like
Exactly.
11, 12 spot. and we have a lot of versatility. Obviously, the only like real weakness is like a real big man presence.
Hmm.
Like when you compare them to like Ewing or David Robinson.
But I mean, we're managing just fine with the combination of Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo. Those two guys on defense have been causing so many problems in these Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. Bam was a surprise. I think it was the South Sudan game, wasn't it, where he went off?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think he went off for like 18. Yeah,
I
he's one of the most underrated players because he can play like a big, but he knows how to do it off ball, and
And
that's
even
some.
on ball, he's a big playmaker for Miami when it just on their regular roster. He's a playmaking big and he can get to his spots when it needs to get to. And he's one of the most versatile defenders in basketball at the big spot today.
Yeah, he's like top 3 or 4 in Defensive Player of the Year, like
Yeah.
almost every year now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Bam
very.
is special.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would personally put my money on Team 2024 over the Dream Team, just because I think if Team 2024 gets it going, like with the jump shooting, and like I don't think Team 19 or like the Dream Team could really hang with them. And you have to remember, Bird was like broken at this point.
Yeah, he was older. So was
Yeah,
Magic.
yeah. I mean, Magic, I feel like was still kind of in a good shape, but he was off basketball for a year
Yeah.
because of the HIV thing, and I
Yep.
think I think we would or not we they would run him off. They would just outshoot him, man.
That's the thing. I don't who on 2024 is guarding like who's guarding Mike? Who's guarding Charles? Like these are tough matchups. The only people I could see trying to guard Mike and doing it well are a 40-year-old LeBron, Drew Holiday, who I mean 6'5", but I don't know how well he'd fare against the literal goat of basketball. I agree. If 2024 USA team is firing on all cylinders, they're a problem for any matchup that they're dealing with. You're talking about Steph, KD, LeBron, like just so many great players on that team. But this team has had their fair share of injuries, of replacements because of injuries, of people not playing because of injuries, a lot of drama and stuff surrounding the roster that 92 didn't really have to deal with, besides leaving Isaiah Thomas off the roster was really it. But still, everyone was there, everyone was playing, everyone was healthy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was gonna ask you what is your favorite, like personal favorite USA roster, what year, and then what roster do you think is the best roster that USA has ever had? Because I feel like those may be different answers. They're different answers for me.
Um, I really like are we talking about starting lineups or just the whole 12?
Roster, the entire roster.
Oh, the entire roster. I really like 2012. Like 2012 was
Me
great.
too.
Like I feel like everyone hypes up '08 more than
Hmm.
2012. But 2012 for me, you had CP, Kobe, LeBron, KD, Melo was hooping that year.
Melo was going nuts. Yeah.
Who were
Tyson
the big
Chandler
ones?
at the big, who
Tyson
was just
Chandler at
coming
the
off a
big.
championship
Yeah.
the year prior.
And he does exactly what they need him to do. Just protect the middle, rebound, catch lobs. We had a young AD. We had Kevin Love on that team who was fine
Who
Kevin Love.
was Kevin Love to spread the floor, Tyson Chandler to protect the rim, just whatever look you were going for. Then you had LeBron, you had Kobe. That is also my personal favorite. 'Cause I
Yeah.
remember just being like obsessively watching all of their games when they were going on because I just loved watching that team.
Yeah. I remember like it was either KD or Melo that would always just go off.
Hmm.
They would just choose a quarter to go off and it would just be unstoppable.
Yeah.
So the team I would choose.
And that was the year that they had the highest score in Olympic history. I
Yeah.
believe it was against Nigeria
Yep.
when Melo went off. So yeah, that's a lot of I feel like our age, a lot of people our age would definitely pick 2012.
hmm So what do you think is the best?
I'm even with the talent that's on 2024, even with my favorite being 12, I can't go against the Dream Team. The Dream Team was I still believe the best basketball team ever assembled. They're too big, and their top players are players that are welcomed in my Mount Rushmore of basketball players any day of the week.
Absolutely. I think the only like call on that team, like you were saying, is the lack of an Isaiah Thomas. Because I think he
Yeah.
did wonders for that team. Because the one weakness for that team was small guards, and how can someone
Hmm.
like Magic or even Michael keep up with the really small, quick guards?
It was really just Stockton at that point.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, "Oh, replace Stockton for Isaiah," but I disagree. I think they should have replaced Chris Mullin for Isaiah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see
he was
that.
nearing the end of his like prime, and I think
And we
Isaiah.
had there were plenty of forward slash guards, wing
Yeah.
players. Like they were going to win by 40 regardless. And Isaiah
Yes, you
Thomas
have
is the better
Michael,
player.
Scotty, and Clyde in their prime. They can handle what Chris Mullin was bringing to the table.
But I will say that leaving him off that team led to one of my favorite memes of all time of him saying, I met the criteria, but for some reason I was left off. That's one of my favorite memes I've ever seen, and I've seen it
Yeah,
used so many different ways. It's so good.
that's funny, dude. But I mean, he shouldn't have been surprised, bro. Like he did too much like controversial stuff.
Oh
It
yeah,
wasn't
he
just
did a
the
lot.
Michael Jordan thing. It was like
I
two or
mean,
three things other than that.
there's going to be consequences to some of the actions, to some of your actions, especially some of the stuff that Bad Boys Piston team was doing.
Hmm.
And that was one of them. And I mean, when you're doing them to the face of the league, Michael Jordan, like that guy has a lot of pull.
Yeah. All he needs to say is, "I'm not
No.
gonna play if he plays."
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Exactly. So yeah, they're the next game for the 2024 USA team is tomorrow. It'll be we're releasing this podcast on Thursday, so it'll be a couple days after. We'll be talking about it on the next podcast. We'll do a little recap of it. But again, I mean, we're all kind of expecting USA to go out there and do what they do and just hoop, really.
Yep. I think the one thing Brazil does a little better than us is offensive rebounding.
Hmm.
A couple of the younger guys are great offensive rebounders. I think we're like I think we're either seventh or eighth amongst the quarterfinalists for like offensive rebounds. But
Not surprising.
at the end of the day, it's going to be like a difference between 40-point lead and a 30-point lead.
Yeah.
We're going to dominate.
The only people I've really seen crash hard is Anthony Davis. Honestly, it's the only guy I've seen really, really try and fight for an offensive board.
Yeah.
So that's not that surprising to hear. But like you said, it's pretty marginal at this point.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Well, switching to our next topic of conversation, not really a person that's in the spotlight at the moment. I'm sure he will be when the season starts, and he was during the summer league. But it's a topic of conversation that I wanted to make sure that we got off during the summer on the podcast, which is Bronny James. Bronny James had a really tough start to the summer league. I think that a lot of that the pressure was probably getting to him. He was hearing all the talk about him getting picked 55th and why he was picked, why he was on the Lakers. He picked it up a little bit towards the end of the summer league, which is promising.
Mhm.
I just wanted to say it on the podcast that people really need to give this kid a break. Like he's getting a lot of exposure, which is angering some people, which I understand. They're like, oh, 55th pick. He didn't play so well in the summer league. Why is he the one getting all the media exposure? Like, oh, it's because it's his dad. It's like at that, you're just stating facts. We're aware of all these things. We're aware he's getting a lot of media exposure. We're aware that it's because of his dad. Like, okay, like stop pointing all of this at him.
Mhm.
Like you have a gripe with it, take it up with the media. Don't bash on Bronny. Let Bronny become the player that he's going to become. Like all you're doing is putting down this 18, how old is he? 18, 19-year-old kid at the start of his career before it's even started. Like let the kid grow. And like everyone has been saying in Lakers management, like it's not like this kid is going to be our starting point guard. Like we're going to put him, he's going to be a two-way player. He's going to play for the South Bay Lakers. He's going to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to
Yeah,
feel him out, see what type of player he's going to become and take it from there. Like that's what everyone wants. That's what everyone's expectation of him is. And we should leave it at that and see what comes of this first season of his.
absolutely. I mean, look, this is like the positive and the negative of being LeBron James's son. The
Mm-hmm.
positive is you get a lot of coverage and a lot of attention, and you get put in places that other kids really, really want to be put in. But at the same time, the negative of that is everyone's like, all right, now show me. Like, show me, do you deserve this? And I feel like people are so into criticizing LeBron James that it's just
Oh
gonna
yeah.
and now he's gonna be like the new James criticism
Hmm.
coverage. And
Yep.
he's gonna have to, like that's the truth. As like horrible as it is, as mean as it is, he's gonna have to learn how to play through that because it's not gonna let up.
Yeah, the his criticism is not going to get any better. If anything, it's going to get worse. The criticism that comes out of him as time goes on, because of who his dad is. Like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of opportunities that probably wouldn't be afforded to you if your last name wasn't James, but it is. So take those opportunities, which he did. He's not stepping down. He's not backing down from anyone. He went out there and played all those summer league games, no matter what anyone was saying about him. Take the opportunities, do the best that you can, and just work your butt off, which I think he's doing. I think it's pretty evident that he's doing that too, which is all he can do. So like, let's back off from that and see what comes of it.
Yeah, and I think it's great that his dad is LeBron as opposed to other superstars because I feel like LeBron is like obsessively like meticulous with his working out and with his just like consistency. And I feel like Bron's just gonna be like, you know what? Just keep hitting the gym, keep doing this, watch what you eat. Like I feel like Bron is like the perfect parent.
Yeah.
Uh to be like honestly, now that I think about it, I can't think of too many superstars that have kids that also turned into like superstars.
Yeah, I've noticed this trend as well. It's usually the role player will give birth to the superstar who gives birth to the role player who gives it that's
Uh,
just kind of how it happens. Del Curry to Steph Curry, Jelly Bean to Kobe. And then the opposite, then when the superstar has the kid usually doesn't pan out to be as good as or greater than the parent was.
yeah, and that's an interesting. I wonder why that is. That's a very interesting phenomenon.
I think it's I my guess has always been that the obsessiveness or I mean when you grow up hearing how great your dad was at this sport and then you try and get into it and you are going through the struggles that your dad probably did, but the difference is no one was comparing your dad to his father. I mean they probably were if he played, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, your dad was like the goat, like why, like you need to be this. It was none of that. It was like, all right, like like a Steph. Steph was around the NBA his entire career, and it's like, oh, that's Del Curry's kid. Like Del Curry, what a great NBA shooter, but it's not like anyone's picking Del Curry for an all-time team or anything. And then Steph grew up and I mean surpassed his dad very quickly in his career.
Yeah, I think it's a notion of, oh, your dad made the league, so hopefully you can make the league too.
Mm-hmm.
Versus your dad was one of the greatest ever, so you better be one of the greatest ever. I think
Exactly.
that pressure is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's a pressure that I feel like it's one of those things that unless you've experienced it, you're not really gonna understand it.
Very true. Well, hopefully he gets to where he wants to go, and hopefully he keeps improving, and he proves all those haters wrong.
Yeah, I mean, number one, he's a Laker. As a Laker, we want to see nothing but success for the kid. And number two, like he's just a dude. He likes to play Call of Duty and hang out with his friends. Like, I'm not gonna bash on this kid because his last name is James. He gets this opportunity. That's awesome for him. Let's see what he does with it. Like, if it flops, it flops. It sucked. But let's give the kid a chance first, you know?
Yeah. And as a fan of like just NBA basketball in general, I just think it's an incredible storyline. Like a
Oh
dad
yeah.
playing with his kid, like that's never been done before. And
Hmm.
I think we're just experiencing history right now. Whether it's like
Exactly.
overwhelming or underwhelming, it's gonna be exciting.
I agree. It's a good storyline. It's going to get people watching. And like you said, with LeBron's work ethic, I mean, LeBron, arguably the second greatest player of all time, and not arguably the greatest season in term or the greatest career in terms of longevity. And that longevity only comes with the insane work ethic that he has. If he can pass on those tips and tricks to anyone, it's going to be his son. So if Bronny is able to even just get some of that, he has the potential to be a really good player in the NBA.
Yep, absolutely. And look, what do they say? They say Braun puts like 2, 3 million into his body and
Oh
condition
yeah.
every single year. He could
Hmm.
same thing for his son, and he could keep steering his son to the right place. Like LeBron is one of the most disciplined athletes we've ever had.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's a great example to pass on to your kid.
On and off the court, for sure. And I mean, obviously, LeBron, 6'8", 260, one of the most freakish athletic players you've ever seen. His son, not the same stature. So he's gonna be a different basketball player. But I mean, that work ethic can transfer to any style, really. Let's see what the kid can do. He's drawing a lot of comparisons to a lot of different two-way players. He's been praised a lot for his defense. Let's see the type of player that he's going to turn into.
Mhm. And I don't think the goal should be one of the all-time greats. I think the goal for him should be, I just want to be better than I was yesterday and just keep going and keep progressing.
Exactly. And from every interview that I've heard of his, every soundbite I've heard, that sounds like what he's been saying. Like he's just going one day at a time, one step at a time, and just trying to get better as a player, which is all you can ask for.
Exactly.
So I while people aren't, too big on him because of everything that's been going on, um, and he didn't have the most promising of summer leagues. Like this is the tip of the iceberg, quite literally. We haven't even gotten to his first season yet. So let's see what happens. Like the second overall pick, Alex Sarr for the Blazers had a terrible summer league,
Yeah.
just really, really bad. Like, but he's still the second overall pick. Let's see what he's gonna do. Let's see what Bronny's gonna do. It's one summer league. Like summer
Yeah, they
league shouldn't
still
really
do it.
determine what happens.
Yeah, he'll get there. Give him a couple of years.
Agreed. Agreed. They all got the potential. It's just who pans out and who doesn't.
Sure.
All right. Uh last last topic that we're gonna do, a little game, something that we've talked about a bit. I mentioned it to you a week or two ago just to kind of get it in your mind and get you thinking about it. I mean, and this is stuff that we do, you and I do on text on a regular basis. We constantly text each other little questions like this and just go on an hour long text of our answers. And it's a start bench cut. And we're going to do start bench cut Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, and Allen Iverson. And if I'm not mistaken, we have different answers for this.
All right, let's hear yours.
Mine is I'm starting Tracy McGrady. I'm benching Allen Iverson and I'm cutting Vince Carter.
Hmm.
Would you like to say yours or would you like me to explain mine?
I want you to explain yours first.
Okay. Tracy McGrady. And we're talking about primes too. I'm not talking about career. Career is a very different list. I'm talking about these players in their primes, whatever you want to consider their prime to be in a game. How are you start benching and cutting them? And it's T Mac AI Vince. T Mac at 6'9", just one of the best scores and athletes that basketball has seen. Like this, he was unbelievable on that Magic team in the early 2000s. No one was stopping him. Just a beautiful handle, a beautiful shot, could score anywhere. And if he's not able to get a shot over you, he's just going to go to the rim and dunk on your big man and not have a problem with it because he had hops. He was as good of a scorer as you could find, and he was 6'9". Benching Allen Iverson because as good of a scorer as T-Mac was, Allen Iverson arguably an even better scorer. But the difference is a difference of 9 inches, give or take. Allen Iverson, 6 feet tall. Tracy McGrady, 6'9", two sides to the basketball in the basketball game. And Vince Carter cutting him because I feel like there's not much that T-Mac, or there's not much that Vince can do that T-Mac isn't going to already do for me with those extra 3 inches on him, you know? Two of the players on this list, Kobe had quotes about that were pretty viral. T-Mac, he said, Tracy McGrady can do everything I can do, except he's 6'9". And Allen Iverson said, he said about Allen Iverson, we should all be thanking God that Allen Iverson wasn't 6'6", because he'd be the greatest player ever. And I think both those statements are very true. But the difference is one was reality and one wasn't. Allen Iverson was never 6 feet tall. T-Mac is 6'9".
Yep.
He is a problem. And so that's why I started T-Mac. I feel like having Allen Iverson as a scoring punch off the bench makes more sense than starting him over T-Mac, who is going to be a better two-way player with that size.
That's a good point. Like, and I think I definitely agree with you on a lot of those issues. I would cut Vince personally because I just feel like those other two are just flat out better than him. I personally like T-Mac is my third favorite player of all time after Kobe and KD.
Mm-hmm.
But my only issue with T-Mac is I feel like all that skill, all that versatility didn't really translate in the playoffs. And I don't want to hold that against him because of, injuries and a lack of help in Orlando and Houston. But I'm starting Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Simply because of intensity. I feel like Allen Iverson, you put him in there for 42 minutes, he's going to maintain the same level of intensity for 42 minutes. And he's going to keep the defense on their heels for 42 minutes. And the difference with AI and T-Mac is AI is going to have the ball in his hands like a lot more. So personally, T-Mac, I would do T-Mac like a Lou Will sort of bench or like a Manu Ginobili where he finishes the game, but he doesn't start it. And I can put him in there. He'll get like a quick 10, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. But who do I want playing 42 minutes? I want Allen Iverson.
That's completely understandable. I think in all-time terms, Allen Iverson is the best player on this list. I mean, again, what he did with that Sixers team and carrying them to the NBA Finals, not just unbelievably impressive what he did, especially at his size. So I'm saying AI over T-Mac, not a problem for me in any way. I completely understand that. I mean, all these players are so good. It really kind of just is preference and what you think is more important. And again, I'm not really sure if there's a wrong answer here.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's like a 51-49 for me. Like, I would definitely start T-Mac. I just think for AI, it's that intensity that gives him the edge and that competitive like fire that I don't feel like T-Mac or Vince really had. I think it was really AI, Kobe, and KG. Those three really had like a fire, and that set the tone for their team. And it really intimidated other teams, like it intimidated opponents. And I thought that's what AI would give me.
Yeah. AI was a dog. He was a dog for sure. He would not give up no matter what on any game.
AI is like a football player playing basketball.
Yep.
He does not care. He puts his body on the line and he's gonna fight you.
I have a wrench to throw in this question, and I want to know what your answer would be for this. What if I replace Vince Carter with Dwayne Wade?
Oh, all right, then it all changes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm starting Dwayne Wade. Easy.
Yeah? So who's getting cut?
Oh man. I would start Dwayne. I would bench Mac and I would cut AI.
Wow, because my answer is the opposite. I'm starting D Wade, I'm benching AI, and I'm cutting T-Mac. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. So
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
It's because I think Dwayne Wade, arguably of the 4 players, including Vince Carter and T-Mac, he's the best defender. He's the best two-way guy, which was the reason why I had T-Mac over AI in the first place, was the defensive side of the ball, because scoring-wise, between the two of them, I'd probably take Allen Iverson. So now I have D-Wade, who's going to be the two-way player. So yeah, I'll keep my bench how it was, and then I'll cut Tracy McGrady. Sorry, T Mac.
I feel that. For me, I just feel like in 20 minutes, assuming like we're only giving like 20 to 25 minutes to the bench player, I just feel
Mm-hmm.
like Mac can do like a little more. He's more
Mm.
versatile. The only reason I picked AI over T-Mac was because of like that 40-minute like that tempo that he's gonna bring. But if I have
Yeah.
D Wade's gonna bring that tempo. And to me, man, D Wade, like between '06 and '09, that was the only time in my life. I didn't get to see Michael Jordan play. That was the only time in my life where I was like, is this guy better than Kobe Bryant? And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I still take Kobe, but
Yeah.
'09 D Wade was like a freak.
He has he's in the top 10 for most points from an NBA player in NBA finals history.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of those top 10 seasons were repeats. Like Michael Jordan did it a few times, Shaq did it a few times. So taking out the repeats, he's top six highest points per game in an NBA final series that he had in the '06 championship, which is unbelievable. There have been so many great NBA players and scorers, and he's top six when it comes to the most important and biggest pressured series in basketball history.
Definitely. Always came through for his team. Competitive, was down to like
Reliable, yeah.
an elbow, could play
Mm-hmm.
D, could pass when he needed him to pass. Like D Wade, to me, like D Wade and Isaiah Thomas are two of those guys that are competitive and can take over. But if they see their teammate going off, they don't have that big of an ego to be like, all right, you take it.
Yeah,
And
and I feel like that's why him and Shaq worked. That's why him and
yep.
Shaq worked
And
arguably better than him and Kobe. Yeah. Yeah. I always when I think of that '06 Heat team and I think about moving the ball and stuff. I can't remember who. I think it was D Wade. No, it was Gary Payton and Shaq that were talking about it. Where Gary Payton or the coach was trying to run plays, and Gary Payton was like waving off the coach and was like, "I'm not doing what your play. I'm just gonna dump it down to Shaq because it's Shaq."
exactly.
That's something I would do. Like I'm like a play. Stop. We're here. Take the ball and go post up, Shaq.
Yeah. I remember an interview for Gary Payton where Phil Jackson was like, pass it to Kobe, he's open. And GP was like, if we pass it to Kobe, we're not getting it back. So I'll give it to Shaq instead.
Oh man, Gary Payton's hilarious, man. And that '06 team, I feel like gets looked over a lot. They were a fun team to watch, and they had some names on that team for sure. Gary Payton, Shaq,
White
D
chocolate.
Wade, White Chocolate, Jason Williams, yeah, a young Udonis
A
Haslam.
young Udonis Haslam.
Udonis Haslam was like Morgan Freeman. I can only remember him ever being old.
Dude, literally. He was a rookie. I was like, this dude looks old. It's like,
Oh man, love Udonis Haslam. I feel like every Udonis Haslam story only has to do with some form of respect from his teammates towards Udonis Haslam.
yeah, he was that veteran presence.
Oh yeah, always. Yeah. So interesting. I find it so interesting that Dwayne Wade causes like a complete shift in our answers and completely like rearranging everything.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's just we're
That's really
looking for
funny.
different things in our start bench cut, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not going to be the last start bench cut that we ever do on the podcast either. We're gonna do more for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a couple of really fun ones.
Oh yeah. No, we will discuss these and we will put these up for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I that was it for this episode of the Scoops podcast. Thank you, Ahmad, for joining me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Olympics. I'm excited to see how we fare out,
Oh yeah,
especially in the last two rounds. So we'll
yeah.
see.
It's gonna be a good time, and we will be here to talk about it.
Let's do it.